It's the end of the school year, and that means it's the perfect opportunity to start preparing for next year. By doing some few simple and easy things at the end of the school year, you can start next year off with a bang. Hi, I'm Christy. I'm a middle school science teacher with over 25 years experience in the classroom, and I love helping other teachers empower their students to take more ownership of their learning. So let's talk about the few simple things that you can do at the end of the year to help make next year start off with a bang. The first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to go over your classroom organization. This is the time where things might have gotten a little out of place, just throwing things at the end of the day when you're done with an activity, and now it's time to reorganize it all. So look at your supply boxes if you have those. Do you have the set number of markers still, or are some boxes missing some markers? If you do crayons in them, do you have those? I always have 4 rulers, and at the end of the year, sometimes some rulers amazingly grow legs and they walk away. So do you have what's supposed to be in every supply box? Is it clean? Is it tidy? And is it ready for next year? So that's one thing you can do. You can also organize all your activities. I like to keep areas for my force activities, areas for my chemistry activities, for my light activities and my waves activities. And I like to put them either in bags or little containers so that way they are ready to go. So at this time of the year, I'm going through it and looking at my bags. I'm looking at the activities. Do I need more or something? Do I need more different bags because the other bags got destroyed or something? Is there a better way to organize it? And I go through all of that. I also look at my folders for my different units. Are there things in the folders that I'm no longer using? And let's be honest, I haven't used that activity in probably about 10 years. So it's time to finally, get rid of it. Yes, it's time to purge. This is the time also for purging, to get rid of those activities. I know as teachers, we like to hold on to everything, which is probably why when we become new teachers and we go into a classroom where the previous teacher retired, there's usually tons of stuff left over, things that have like dittos, like the old ditto copies. I don't know if you guys remember those, but they were like they had like the blue words on it, and you could go to the copier machine to make the copies. When I came into this classroom after the teacher retired, I went through and there were at least 5 drawers of broken and unusable hamster tubing. So yes, it's time to purge. If you have not used something in probably about 10 years, chances are that's because you're doing something else more updated, and it's time to get rid of that. Plus, we're in the digital age. We no longer need to keep lots of stacks of paper of all of our activities. We can start saving some of those. So make sure that you put those activities onto a digital format. So that way you don't have to save hard copies. It's all there. You can keep maybe a list of the things that you do, but do we really need to have binders of our papers? I know I went through last year and I went through all my binders that I had for all my units, and I was like, I have digital folders of these. So I no longer need those. So those big binders, they went away to make room for other things. So go through, organize, clean up your classroom, go through the drawers, go through the cabinets, and reorganize it all. And this is a great thing that students can do also. They can help you go through supply boxes. They can help put together your activities and put those into nice little containers for you. So that's one thing. While you're doing that, it's also important to look at your inventory. What do you need to replace for next year? Are there any science supplies that need to be replaced? Any school supplies that need to be replaced? Because we all know that during the summer, that's when they usually have all those back to school sales. So if you know ahead of time that you need 2 more rulers and 3 more markers, because although, yes, teachers shouldn't have to pay for the supplies, but we all know that teachers do pay for those supplies. So if we have a list ahead of time, then we can at least save money when we're getting our supplies to redo things and update it. For me, I'm also looking at my chemicals. Now, we're not talking about the science chemicals that we order through the science supply company. We're talking about good old kitchen chemicals like vinegar. Do I need any more vinegar? Baking soda. How's that going? Salt for my activities. Baking powder, cornstarch, vinegar, oils. Do I have all of those ready to go, or do I need more of those supplies? So you're going through your inventory. If things got broken, maybe you are low on thermometers because accidents happened. So maybe you have a list ready to go. So that way at the beginning of the year, you can go to your principal and say, hey, I could use these supplies because these got broken and we need more of these. Or you can maybe do a GoFundMe or Donors Choose to get those supplies at the beginning of the school year. So it's good to have that inventory to know exactly what you need. Next, it's lesson planning and curriculum planning for next year. You see, the end of the year is the perfect opportunity. Everything is still fresh in your mind. You know what worked and what didn't work. You know what needed to be tweaked a little bit, right? So you're going to go through and you're going to not go into detail of everything, but maybe just plan a basic idea of how it's going to go. You know that maybe this unit took longer than expected because you had a new project you tried this year, so you need more time for it. So you kind of plan that on the calendar. You just mark it in this unit. So we don't have to go into detail. We just say, from this week to this week, we're going to do light waves, right? We're just planning it out. Maybe you had an activity that you tried and it didn't go so great. And maybe this is the second year trying it and you're realizing like this is just not going to work. So you can put that in, don't do this next year, try something else, right? So that's what you're going to be doing. You might want to actually at this time plan your first 3 weeks of school. What are you going to do for your first 3 weeks? I always like planning it almost to the detail of what I'm going to do every single day, every class period for the first 3 weeks of school. That way, when I come to the school year, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing for the first 3 weeks. And I can spend that time, instead of figuring out what am I doing, I can spend that time building those relationships with my new students. So if you plan it out ahead of time, at this point, just get it going. If there's something new you want to try, put that out there and get your first 3 weeks planned out into your lessons. This is also the great time to look at professional development or anything that you want to try new. Perhaps you want to try doing the flipped classroom next year. Now, the flipped classroom is something I've been doing for over 15 years now, way before COVID, and I really enjoy it. I think it got a bad name during COVID because, yes, people were using videos to teach their students. But using a video to teach a student is not doing a flipped classroom, because it's not about what you use, it's about the purpose and why you're doing it. So I enjoy doing the flipped classroom. It's what allows me to do more activities in my class. It allows me to do SEL opportunities. It allows me to do success principles once a week. And so I enjoy doing the flipped classroom, where my students, instead of, in class getting that lecture and taking down notes in class and doing some type of direct instruction with notes, which can take half a class period or sometimes even a whole class period, instead my students get a short little video and they watch the video at home, they take notes at home, and they take a little practice quiz to see, okay, did you understand what the video was teaching you? Then in class, that's when we actually are applying it. We're actually doing activities to apply that knowledge. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe you're going to take a little digital course on that or learn more information. I have lots of blog posts about the flipped classroom and lots of videos if you want to, peruse those to learn more about the flipped classroom. Or maybe you want to learn more about doing the 5E model. Like you've got a little bit of it, but you need some more help on that. So maybe you'll look into doing a digital course on the 5E model again, or watching videos, which I've got tons of videos on those also. Maybe there is some type of conference that you want to go to. Maybe you want to learn more about standards-based grading and you want to read some books on those. Because professional development doesn't necessarily have to mean going to a conference. It can mean doing things online, learning things online, or reading books about them. So this is a great time to think about what is something you want to try next year. What do you want to improve upon? What do you want to get better at? And maybe putting together a list of books or videos or courses that you want to be taking this summer. This is also a time to be doing some student data and assessment. So look at your data. Look at the tests you've given the students throughout the year. Look at how they did on your district test that you gave them. Is there a place where the students really shined and did wonderful on? Is there a place where maybe they struggled? And then look at how long did you teach that material? Did they shine on the material that you taught in depth and had a long time for? Did they struggle on this material that you didn't have as long for? And how can you fix that for next year? So looking at the data, looking at what they did well, what they struggled in, what they seem to shine on. What do you need to do next year to help them out on the parts that they had more difficulty? And the ones they shined on, it was because they spent a lot of time on it. Do you need to spend less time? Do you want to keep that same amount of time? So looking at the data to figure out what they're doing, how the students did, and using that to improve upon next year and help plan for next year. Summer is also the time, actually the end of the school year is also the time to think about those field trips for next year, and if you want to do that Skype a Scientist. So Skyping a Scientist is something I've always wanted to do, but I've seen like I never have the time for it. So at the end of the year, if I were to give myself that basic planning of the school year, of my curriculum, I could probably figure out, okay, when am I going to be teaching a certain topic? Can I get a scientist during that time that is doing that topic, that is an expert in that topic? Is that something that I can do? And maybe go ahead and put that in to their request the Skype a Scientist. Or is there a field trip that maybe I would be able to do? Now, we know that there's really no money for a field trip for buses, but is there a virtual field trip? Something that I can take the students to, a location virtually that will help enhance what they're actually learning about in the classroom. So this is a great time to think about field trips, virtual field trips, and the Skype a Scientist. One last thing to be thinking about is also your safety. Look around the classroom. Is there anything broken? Is there anything that needs to be replaced? Is your eye wash station, for those of us that teach science, is the eye wash station, do you still have it, or do you need to replace those eye wash station chemicals? Because I know I have bottles for eye washing, and you know what? After a while, those do go out of date. They expire. So do I need to replace them? Is there anything broken? Your ceiling tiles, do they need replaced? Is there an issue? So you go around the room and you look at your safety things to make a note of that. Let the custodians know. So that way they can work on it this summer, get everything fixed, put in that work order for the summer. And when you come back into your classroom, you have a safe classroom that's ready to go. So those are some things that you can do at the end of the school year to help set up next year to go off with a bang and start off successfully.